I, 45M, still remember the conversation like it was yesterday. My brother, 42M, sat across from me at our usual coffee spot, explaining how he wanted to give my son, 22M, a chance at his tech company. The way he emphasized chance made my stomach turn. I could hear the pity dripping from his voice. He was stirring his coffee excessively, the way he always does when he's trying to soften a blow. My son was born with cerebral palsy. It affects his mobility. He uses a wheelchair, but his mind? Sharp as a tack. He graduated top of his class in computer science from a prestigious university with multiple research papers published. But job interviews were tough. People would see the wheelchair first, his abilities second. I sat through 17 rejection calls with him, watching his spirit dim a little more each time. These companies would dance around the real issue, using phrases like, not the right fit, or looking for someone with more experience. But we both knew what they meant. That's why when my brother offered him an entry-level programming position, I was both grateful and hesitant. The conversation still burns in my memory. Look, he'd said, leaning forward with that patronizing expression I'd seen too many times. I know it's hard for him to find work. I can create a simple role, something manageable. We'll make sure he has all the support he needs. I nearly walked out right then. My hands were shaking under the table. But my son? He took the job. I remember sitting in his room that night, arguing about it. Dad, he told me, his eyes blazing with determination. I don't care why I get in the door. I'll show them what I can do. Besides, he added with that wry smile of his, Uncle's company needs serious help with their back-end architecture. I reviewed their public API documentation. It's a mess. The first 6 months were exactly what I'd feared. My brother would call me weekly with concerns. The office wasn't fully wheelchair accessible. The team seemed uncomfortable with how to interact. Some clients had made comments during video calls. Each conversation felt like a knife in my gut. My son never complained, but I'd see the tension in his shoulders when he came home. Then things started to change. Slowly at first. My brother's calls became less frequent, their tone different. Your son's new authentication system saved us 40 hours of maintenance work. Then, he completely restructured our cloud architecture. Our processing costs dropped by 60%. And finally, he's teaching the senior developers about quantum encryption. Where did he learn this stuff? By year 2, my son was leading the development team. Not because of any special treatment. The previous team lead quit, and the entire department demanded my son take over. He'd revolutionized their project management system, introduced AI-driven testing protocols, and landed 3 major clients through his innovations. My brother stopped calling altogether. The weekly family dinners became interesting. My brother would barely make eye contact, pushing food around his plate while my son enthusiastically discussed technical concepts that went over everyone's heads. My sister-in-law, 40F, later told me that my brother had been going to therapy, working through his unconscious biases. I didn't even know he knew those words. Then came the crisis. Their biggest project, a $50 million government contract, was failing. The original architecture was collapsing under scale, and they were bleeding money. The board called an emergency meeting that lasted 3 days. My son attended every session, quietly taking notes while executives pointed fingers and consultants presented complicated solutions. On the 3rd day, during a particularly heated argument, my son cleared his throat. The room fell silent. They learned to listen when he had something to say. He shared his screen and presented a complete restructuring plan. He'd been working on it for months, seeing the problems before anyone else did. The solution was elegant, innovative, and most importantly, immediately implementable. It saved the company millions. The client not only stayed but doubled their contract. 3 weeks ago, my brother called me. His voice was different, nervous, humble. The board had called a private meeting. The last few years had shown them something significant. The company needed different leadership. More technical, more innovative, more in tune with where technology was heading. They wanted my son as CEO. My brother was stepping down himself to become chairman, focusing on big-picture strategy while letting someone more technically capable take the reins. I was wrong, he admitted, his voice cracking. I hired him thinking I was doing you a favor. Turns out he was the one doing us a favor. He saw things we couldn't see, thought in ways we couldn't think. I was so caught up in what he couldn't do physically that I was blind to everything he could do mentally. The transition announcement went out the next day. The tech blogs exploded. A 25-year-old CEO in a wheelchair? The story was too good to ignore. But the coverage wasn't about pity or inspiration porn. The articles focused on his technical innovations, his patents, his vision for the company's future. Yesterday was my son's first day as CEO. As I helped him adjust his tie before the board meeting, some fine motor skills are still challenging, he grinned and said, "Remember when Uncle thought he was being charitable?" We both laughed, but I had to turn away to hide my tears. Not sad tears, proud ones. I watched the live stream of his first company address. There he was, in his wheelchair behind the podium, commanding the room with quiet confidence. He outlined his vision for the company's future: quantum computing initiatives, AI ethics frameworks, sustainable technology practices. No pity in sight, just respect. Pure, hard-earned respect. The company's stock jumped 12% by closing bell. My phone hasn't stopped buzzing with messages from relatives who'd once suggested we manage our expectations about my son's future. My brother pulled me aside at the celebration dinner. The restaurant had cleared out except for family and close friends. "I need to apologize," he said, eyes wet. "Not just for back then, but for everything before that too. All the times I treated him differently at family gatherings. All the times I spoke to him like he was a child. I thought I was being kind. I didn't realize I was being condescending. He's the best thing that ever happened to this company." I just nodded. I'd known my son's capabilities all along. Sometimes people need time to see past their own preconceptions. Success isn't about pity or charity. It's about talent, determination, and the courage to prove yourself when others underestimate you. The real victory isn't the CEO position or the stock price jump. It's in the way people look at him now, the way they lean in when he speaks, not out of politeness but genuine interest. The way new hires light up when they realize who their boss is. The way my brother now introduces him at industry events, not as his nephew who overcame challenges, but as the technical genius who's transforming the company. My son didn't need anyone's pity. He just needed a chance to show what he could do. And now? Now he's showing everyone, every single day. Edit 1. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the awards and kind messages. To those asking, yes, the company is doing great under his leadership. He's already implementing changes that will take them in exciting new directions. And my brother? He's become my son's biggest champion. Sometimes people can learn and grow from their mistakes. That's what family is about. Edit 2. Since many are asking, no, I won't name the company or share any identifying details. This is about privacy and letting the work speak for itself. But yes, if you're in the tech industry, you've probably heard about some of our recent announcements. Edit 3. To the parents of disabled children in my DMs, keep believing in your kids. Fight for them. But most importantly, listen to them. They know their capabilities better than anyone else. Final edit. For those commenting about nepotism, my son's achievements and innovations are all documented and patented. He earned everything through merit. The initial job opportunity? Yes, that came from family. But everything after that was pure talent and hard work. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with friends or family who might enjoy it too. Your support means a lot. And if you have any thoughts, questions, or story ideas, drop them in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. See you in the next story.